This episode is for Friday, March 20th, 2015. Welcome, Meteor fans. I'm your host, Josh Owens, along with my co-host.
Rye Walker.
Welcome to the show, Rye.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So this week we're going to talk about a Meteor update, hacker news, Crater, Materialize, and how data flows. Alrighty. So yeah, I don't know. We've got the one sponsor, Modulus. You guys know who they are. Come on. If you're not using Modulus, something wrong with you. I'm just gonna say it. Yeah. So, have you done anything exciting this week, Ryan?
Yeah, I have actually.
You wrote a blog post, right?
Yeah, I wrote a blog post on AirPair.
Got on Hacker News.
Got on Hacker. The funny thing about that one is I gave up on it yesterday. I was like at 35, and then it dropped to 45 and like 47, and I was like, all right, game's over. I shut it down and I left for the day, and then at like 5:30. Yeah, so I guess I left early. We had the Buckeyes were playing.
Oh yeah.
The CEO of AirPair, you've probably interacted with him on their Slack. He's like, hey, check out Hacker News. I was like, what? So that was pretty awesome. I don't know how that worked.
Well, it was me. I went and upvoted it, and I got like 10 votes. I get like 0 votes because I've been blacklisted or something.
My theory on that is I think that they have like points per user. Like some people are a 10x and some people are a 1/10.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
And I bet you like a big guy like went in and voted it up. Like who knows? Probably Paul Graham. I'm thinking. He probably went in, uploaded it, and boom, front page. Yeah, so that was fun. But besides that, all kinds of stuff going on. But how about you? What'd you do this week?
Oh gosh, I just wrapped up a training session, and that reminds me, we're gonna be having a new podcast soon, listener nation. We just hit we broke 250 on the Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/Meteor Club, you can join. The Slack chat room is gangbusters. It's actually kind of crazy in there. It's awesome. A lot of discussions going on. We'll actually touch on some of that this week with some of these topics. But so now I'm like trying to plan that. And like I said, just finished the first part of the training class today for a bunch of guys, and then we'll give a shout out to Paul Dowman. He did a meteorinterviews.com, and he interviewed me, and I think it was pretty good. Talked a lot about why I'm teaching and that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe it was boring.
Yeah, but something big happened to Meteor this week, right?
Yeah. So 104 came out, and then 104.1 came out, and then today 104.2 came out, and maybe at the rate we're going, we'll see 104.3 tomorrow.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So I think the first breakage it had something to do with deploying maybe or building. I don't know. I didn't read that one. And then the one today, there was problems with Cordova. So they did part of the upgrade was, they went from Cordova, I've got it up here in my notes, Cordova 351 to 420. So it was a big Cordova upgrade. They've made some changes based on, I think we've talked about it before, but they've made some changes based on, like, you have to specify domains in an access rule now because there was a bug. There's like a huge security hole in Android apparently with Cordova. I think the interesting thing and the big thing and the thing I want to know, like, what's MDG really doing here is with the template level subscriptions that was added as well. And it's starting to get interesting because you can have your templates do the subscribing to data itself, and you don't have to worry about the router necessarily doing it anymore. And so it feels like they're starting to cannibalize little pieces of Iron Router. And so we were actually in the chat room with Sashko and Slava in the Telescope chat room, and we were talking about the release and where they kind of see it going. And how should MDG handle Iron Router versus, now Flow Router's out. I didn't put that in the notes this week, but Flow Router's out too. So, like how do we reason about this? How do we figure out how to go forward? How do we do something there, because you've got something like user accounts or Houston, and they rely on Iron Router, and now we've got Flow Router, and now subscriptions are happening in a different way depending on if you use it or not. Like, where's this all going to go? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict that, of course.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So, are you planning on changing where you do subscriptions then, based on the new release?
It was interesting. I think Aranota kind of hit it on the head when he talked about, like, I think there are times where you need to make the subscriptions in your router, and there are times where you need to make the subscription, at the template level. And like even today, thinking about the class, like, could I refactor in, like, we're grabbing tweets, but the tweets are different based on which route you're on. So when you're on, like, we built a Twitter clone, and so when you're on the Twitter page, you want to see all the tweets that are people that you followed, whereas when you're on the profile page, you only want to see the tweets for the person that you're looking at. And so those are two very different kind of subscription calls, and I don't think I could make those at the template level.
Okay. Yeah. So
it's not a panacea, it's not an end-all, but it's definitely really, really interesting to think about it. I think there are good use cases for it. I just haven't seen too many, like, right off the top of my head right now that I would refactor.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, and then I guess the other kind of awesome thing is they're claiming they saw a 10x speed up. They 10x'd all your Mongo queries for you, apparently.
Cool. Yeah, I mean,
now we can all be 10x developers.
Yeah, as soon as it came out, I have problems with the oplog getting behind problem.
Oh yeah. Back pressure.
Yeah, and on a couple of our apps. And I haven't tested it yet, but I immediately is like I deployed hoping that I'll never have to see that problem again. It's one of those things that you only see those problems when you see them. So.
Well, so you'll notice when it happens though, because your CPU usage will spike when the oplog backlog pressure or whatever they call it kicks in. Then basically you'll see a bunch of people switch to, like, poll and diff, or I guess you'll just see the server switch to poll and diff, but. You'll see a big spike in CPU usage because it's refetching data and kind of getting the updates that way.
You're saying with the update, we're going to see CPU jumps when it's getting slow, or are you saying it used to? Okay, all right,
yeah. Because the whole idea behind oplog was to limit, like, lower your CPU usage and make it a little more real time than the 5 or 10 second pull and diff was before. So
yeah, okay, got it. All right, cool. We'll go to the next topic. Hacker News. It's our first topic, kind of, but it's also our third topic. So yesterday on Hacker News, someone said, "Is Meteor JS mature enough to use for building big applications?" Like lob that up in the air, right? And of course, the first guy, I don't know if it was the first guy, but there was a guy who came in with kind of a negative viewpoint on it, and then the Meteor Mafia showed up, and it was funny just like seeing these usernames. I'm like, oh, okay, him and him and him and him.
Yeah.
And, I think we gang tackled these people, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny to watch the flow of it too. Like, I was in the Telescope Slack chat room, and Sasha posted it there, and there was, like, a little bit of discussion, and then I went over and commented on it, and then, like, Sasha posted it on Crater, and then, like, a bunch of other people started flowing in.
The thing I love about this is, number one, it's evidence that there's a community now around Meteor that's passionate about it, obviously, and then we kind of, like, won the battle. Like, the pro Meteor people won the battle. In the past, like, take a year ago, a post if something made front page on Hacker News about Meteor, it was going to be pretty damn negative, like on average.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that, it wasn't a big battle. I think there's only how many comments on this? Like 56 comments, 50 points. It wasn't a big post, but it's nice to see that we at least won this little battle. That the pro-Meteor sentiment kind of won out over the negative Meteor sentiment.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, here's the thing. Like, I made a comment on this guy. Oh, it looks like Ben Strahan made a comment as well, and he got voted up a lot more. Yeah, it just, like, you can tell this guy, this Alexander, is just someone who maybe used Meteor once or twice, or maybe even tried it for a project and then left, and probably left a while ago. And I just don't, like, he says bad routing support. Like, I would not call Iron Router bad routing support. And there are alternatives out there now, right? Like Flow Router's out just like the day before this came out. Like, shut up. And then there's plenty of packages, and so, like, everything he pointed at, like, no I18N support, like, everyone's like, there's already packages to take care of that. And his point was, well, they're not official. And, to me, like, why do we keep talking about official things? There are a few things that I think Meteor, as an official maintainer, should create or do. One of them I do think is a router, and the other one is, like, database drivers, And outside of that, I don't really care if it's official or not. Like, so are you saying because it's official, you just trust the code and you don't audit it, or because it's unofficial, like, it takes extra auditing time?
It's probably like a Microsoft developer,
That's what Ben said down in his comment. Like,
really?
Yeah, are you a .NET dev? Because it sounds like you're not an open source dude. Because I mean, seriously, like, he says something in the comments about how, a project manager would be ruffling hearing these words about the external package system. Like, no, not at all. I think if you're going to use a package, you should absolutely learn how to read that code and understand what's going on. But at the same time, there are plenty of people right now relying on, like, simple schema and autoform or user accounts or any of this stuff. Like, this stuff's pretty good.
And the thing too, like, again, I actually believe that Meteor should have less packages. Honestly, like, there's packages that are official that shouldn't be, like Bootstrap-ish type stuff,
Yeah, they removed that.
Okay, good. All right, so but there's things that they had to do initially just to make the stack full enough to be useful. And there's no way to know, like, let's say they did take the 5 packages that he said they should do. Then there's another new top 5 that should be incorporated into core, right? And so core gets bloated under his worldview, and I don't think any of us would really want that.
No, because I mean, we need to have this choice down the road. So.
Yep. And routing is not a okay. We know that. I mean, all you Meteor people out here understand why having a single router wouldn't be the right thing for us.
Right.
It's just that's not a. I guess there was a time where maybe I was like, this is weird. Like, Rails has a router, like, so should you. But I see now why it makes sense to not have that.
I mean, I go either way on that. I think, server-side rendering and routing should be something that fall under Meteor, in my opinion. Like, just looking at how React works, I think it makes sense. But I don't know.
Yeah. Again, then what? What else?
So my initial response to just this thread in general, not the hater, was that there are plenty of big people out there doing it, right? Like, I've interviewed Classcraft on the Q&A. I've talked to not Mixmax, but WorkPop, trying to get Mixmax on the Q&A to talk about, like, scaling and that kind of thing. Like, these people are building, one, they're building big teams, and 2, they're building big apps that need to scale, right? So you're talking about, is it good enough for building big applications? Absolutely, I think so. There are teams that are learning how to work together in a Meteor environment in a scalable way, in my opinion. And then you have teams that are working together to build a scalable app that will, handle the concurrent, the 1,000, 2,000 concurrent connections that you might be dealing with. So, I don't know.
Yep. All right. Let's want to jump to talk about this massive Crater thread.
Redesign. Yeah, this is like the biggest Crater topic ever. So apparently, if I put up a topic that said, "What do you think of the new telescope?" everyone would be like, "Yeah, it's all right. It's a nice feature." As you say, "What do you guys think of this design?" Like, everybody's got an opinion on that.
Well, especially because it's kind of a risky design, right?
It is. It was a huge departure.
Yeah, and I love it. By the way, I don't think I even commented on this thing, but I like the new design. So.
Nice. Yeah. So, I mean, there were two big goals here. I guess there were three goals. Nick missed one, but one was to kind of redesign it, make it feel less like Telescope and more like its own thing. Two, bring it in line with my Meteor Club branding, so that's why purple, you know. And you know, but we didn't want it to feel the same, so we ditched the original kind of Fireball logo and didn't use the Meteor Club one. Nick made his own rendition of a kind of a meteor coming down to Earth there, and you know, the other one was maybe have a spot for ads. So we still have to figure that one out. Got to decide if that's interesting, and if that's
to you,
if that's interesting at all to the community, right? Like I don't know how much hate I'd get for that if I did it, but you know, I was talking to someone the other day, and they pointed out like Carbon Ads approached me, and they're like, "Oh, we'd love to put ads on your site." And it's like, do I do that? Do I not do that? Like, so right now I'm probably paying on the order of, like, going back to scaling talks, paying on the order of $28 to run Crater a month, and that's one $10 DigitalOcean slice and then one $18 Compose.io slice, and you know we're doing something around 400,000 page views a month, and yeah, I don't know. Like we're easily, like, it's not even breaking a sweat handling like 150 concurrent users, so quite scalable. But yeah, no, I love the new design. Like Nick used, he didn't ask me this, but he used two fonts that I actually love, Railway and Roboto, and we didn't even talk about it ahead of time. But like I've got three favorite fonts, and that's two of them.
Yeah, he's a mind reader, so.
He is. Way to go, Nick.
Yeah.
But it has been, you know, it was a little choppy. There's still little bugs that we're trying to work out. And honestly, like, we've learned a lot about Crater or Telescope designs. Like, it's probably a bad idea for you to make your own form designs, because, you know, those things change a lot, whereas there's not a ton of changes that happen to the main pages. So when you make your own design, you've kind of got to keep in step with what Sasha's doing with Telescope. So just something to consider when you're doing that kind of thing. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's go to the next topic, which is Materialize. This is a blog post that before you shared it with me today.
Are you saying you hadn't seen this?
No, I hadn't. I was like, oh, this should be interesting. I'm like, oh, yeah. No, this is a cool post by Nick.
Yeah.
Same guy who designed Crater. Works here at Differential. Talking about material design and the easiest way to get to that. And you know, mentions Polymer, which of course I'm using Polymer. It's kind of a touchy subject around here since we're house divided on that. We're house divided on CoffeeScript versus JavaScript too, you know. But it's I think it's great. It's like basically, yeah. The interesting thing I would throw out is I just recently, I don't know if you start new apps lately, Josh, like Greenfield. Like, let's do a new Meteor app. For me, that decision, I was going to try to do that. I actually started it earlier this week. I was like, okay, I'm going to make this new app, and then I'm like, do I want to use Polymer? Do I want to use Materialize? Do I want to like use user accounts? Because I was an accounts entry person, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, should I use? I probably should use the differential boilerplate. You know, of course, there's JavaScript in there, so that's a negative for me. And then it didn't have Polymer, so I'm like, okay, do I want to learn all this other stuff? And I'm like, God, man, this is going to be starting to be a tough time to jump into Meteor. It's not as simple as it was 2 years ago when we started, you know?
True, true.
Back in the bootstrap era. But are you using Materialize?
I have not used it. We're still, like, the designer that I work with is mostly centered around Materialize. I've been using, for the client project I'm using Ionic, but I don't know, like, I'm divided on material design. Like, I like the Google Maps app on my phone, but at the same time, I'm not sure I'm entirely sold on Inbox by Google necessarily, and I think some of that is material design, right? Like I prefer maybe the completely flat look that Inbox or Mailbox gives me. So I don't know.
Have you tried the Calendar app, the Google Calendar app?
I have not yet. I should
Yeah.
install that because I use Google Calendar.
Yeah, just on iOS. I mean, it's another like perfect example of material design. If again, not saying the material design is perfect, but they implemented it perfectly within this app. So if you're looking for more information to make a decision one way or another, it is probably definitely a flavor of the month sort of thing. Like Bootstrap was huge a couple of years ago, and this is to me like kind of like the next Bootstrap in a sense.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's gonna get as big as Bootstrap, right? Like you're gonna have fragmentation in the market. Like you already have Foundation and Bootstrap, and clearly Bootstrap in my mind was the winner. But how many people are just gonna stay with Bootstrap or stay with Foundation rather than move to Materialize?
I think it's really just kind of high-end developers that get bored of doing the same shit, for multiple years, and they look for something new to do. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm over on that. I like the new shiny things.
Yeah.
And a lot of, again, a lot of smart developers that, just want to be on the edge of things. This is more edgy than Bootstrap for sure.
Yeah, I definitely see, like, the interesting thing is with Polymer, right? Like, I could see, like, making that switch personally because there's a lot of UI stuff that comes with that. There's not just some design stuff. There's a lot of reactivity that kind of happens in there as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're looking to test out material design, go to this blog post and it kind of gives you the quick overview of the things you can do there. The main parts of Materialize. What do you have? Let's go to the last topic here.
Yep, data flow from the database to the UI. So first off, you should go look at this article because that looks like a delicious cake at the top, and it's got little butterflies on it, and I mean, who doesn't like butterflies? They're probably candy. Good. No, so it's a lot of this is talking about the stuff we kind of talked about before, the new subscription stuff, and yeah. I like this. Number one, I love when Sashko writes stuff. Like, keep writing stuff, Sashko. I assume he listens to this. But he definitely talks about, like, you need to think about security in your publication on the server, right? Not in your client. You're doing it wrong if you think about security in the client. And so you should only be looking up and returning data that the user has access to from the publication, and make sure that it's granular. That's what you should be most concerned about. Performance is in your publication. And then, he kind of walks you through how you can subscribe to a task list, and he's using current data ID. Where's that coming from? So he makes the subscribe call, and it's tasks and list, and I don't know where that current data is coming from.
Yeah, I don't know. It must be a Methadone template that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's like the data context that's being set, but I don't see where he's setting that anywhere. But anyway, I'm assuming that somehow that's getting set to like a task ID or a to-do list ID, that kind of thing. And he just walks you through how you don't have to worry about having a global loading template anymore. Like your to-do list can have an individual loading template or a loading kind of block. And so it's kind of weird because if you wait on all the data in Iron Router, you just end up with this blank page while this data is synchronizing over. Whereas in reality, we don't have to do that with Meteor. You only need to wait on the key data, and you could have one little loading section, and the rest of the page could be filling in with stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to make these monolithic pages. You can make these tiny little components that make the subscriptions themselves and care about like what does the loading data look like there, and
Yeah, I mean, do you think that? I think a big part of this is like making the subscriptions happening from the template is a move towards components, right? I mean, that's definitely a part of this. I think why these experiments are happening. Why it's part of 104 now, and why he did this post.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird because I know that Sasha wrote a post about this and kind of showed how you could do this, and Sashko thought it was a good idea and hacked it in so that it would be supported here. But it's kind of an interesting idea to me.
Yeah.
And I think something's going to change. We're either going to see Blaze 2 or we're going to see React fully supported, or something is going to happen. And this stuff is going to it'll be very different. I think Iron Router, I don't think it'll go away, but it'll take a big refactor to get it to where it needs to be for Meteor apps. But the thing that's weird to me is that there's still no kind of notion of URLs in Meteor at this point outside of Iron Router or Flow Router. And we're building web apps here, people. Like, the core component of the web is the URL as a building block. Like, we need to support URLs here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I mean, this is pretty cool. I want to digest this post a little bit more. I hadn't seen it until you linked it today. So
yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, it's fun to have a new release of Meteor, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we'll have another one in 2 weeks, right? Because when's Dev Shop? Not even 2 weeks. Next week, next Thursday, I think we'll see 1.1 come out.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have anything else for us to talk about? I think we've covered off our topics for the day.
No. I think the biggest thing is, I'm going to start that new Roundtable podcast shortly. I think it's going to be called Meteor Club Podcast, and probably like 3 or 4 people, and we'll be talking about little topics in Meteor. We'll just pick a show topic and just kind of riff on it for 30, 40 minutes, and I don't know. It'll be exciting. I'd love to see it hit like new and noteworthy in technology, so we'll see if we can make that work. All you fans out there, be ready for it when I say it's available.
Yeah. Look, I'll I wish there were more Meteor podcasts. I would have them queued up in my Overcast.
Yeah. Meteor interviews, like, he submitted it to the iTunes store, so we'll have a second one soon.
Cool. Yeah.
But that's just more listening to me at this point. I think it'll be more interesting when there's someone else on it.
Damn it!
I've decided my marketing approach is just like Visa. Like, I'm everywhere you are going to be.
That's a good strategy.
Yeah.
All right,
man.
So I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, guys.